In this lecture video, we are going to talk about sequence diagrams. So far, we understood what are interaction models, and we have also taken up the first interaction model, that is the use case model. In this lecture video, we will talk about the second interaction model, the sequence diagrams. Sequence diagrams in the UML are primarily used to model the interactions between the actors, who could be humans, who could be systems, who could be hardware systems, and the objects in a system. Also, they could be used to model interactions between the objects themselves. The UML has a rich syntax for sequence diagrams, which allow many different kinds of interactions to be modeled. As the name implies, a sequence diagram shows the sequence of interactions that take place during a particular use case or a use case instance. From the previous lecture video, if you can recall, this was a complex use case or a composite use case diagram. Each of these are called as use cases. Now, we will draw a sequence diagram to indicate or elaborate one particular use case, that is view patient info. In the figure, what you can see here on the slide is an example of a sequence diagram that illustrates the basics of the notations of sequence diagrams in UML. This diagram models the interactions involved in the view patient info use case, where a medical receptionist can see some patient information. The objects and the actors involved in the use case or in this diagram are listed at the top. So these are the objects or the actors involved with dotted lines drawn vertically from them. Interactions between objects are indicated by annotated arrows. The rectangle on the dotted lines indicate the lifeline of the object concerned. That is, the time that the object is involved or the time during which the object is involved in the interaction. You read the sequence of interactions from top to bottom, from top to bottom. The annotations on the arrows, this one, these are called as annotations, and these indicate calls to objects, their parameters, and their return values. In this example, there is a notation used to denote alternatives. A box named alt is used with the conditions indicated in square brackets. So these are called as alternatives, and this is indicated by a box with the alt tag at one end, and conditions are indicated, different conditions are indicated in square brackets. Let's see how we can read this sequence diagram. Understand that this is the sequence diagram only for one use case, that is view patient info. The entire sequence diagram represents the sequence of interaction only for this use case. Okay, let's start reading it. This is an actor who is a medical receptionist. Then we have different classes. Patient info is a class. MHCPMSDB is a class. Authorization is another class. So here these are the classes or the objects. So you can see P dot patient info. If you remember the class diagram notation that we learned in the previous module, this shows that P is an object of class patient info. Do not worry about the details of this class as of now. D is an object or instance of the class MHCPMSDB. AS is an instance or an object of the class authorization. So medical receptionists and these objects or instances are the actors involved in this scenario or in this sequence diagram. That is why they are listed at the top of the diagram. Each of them have lifelines, so they are connected to their lifelines by dotted lines. The rectangular boxes indicate from which time to which time the particular object or actor is active. So let's read this from top to bottom. First, the medical reception triggers the view info method. So looking at this annotation on the arrow, you can see that it is triggered by the medical receptionist because of the pointed end of the arrow. View info method is called with the PID as an argument to that method. PID stands for patient ID. So medical receptionist triggers or calls this function or method on this class, that is patient info. So the medical receptionist triggers this method supplying the patient's identifier, that is PID. So P is nothing but an object of the patient info class. And when this view info is passed, you have a user interface object that will be displayed as a form showing patient ID. The instance P, that is the second object in the sequence diagram, calls the database to return information required, supplying the following parameters. That is the receptionist PID, that is from the medical receptionist. What the medical receptionist has passed to this method is PID. The same parameter is extracted and the patient info object calls another method called as report with PID, which is received from this method. At this stage, let us not worry about from where UID comes. Okay? So this is the second interaction, which is triggered from patient info object to the DB object. In the third case, the third interaction would be the database checks with an authorization system that the user is authorized for this action. So info and UID from this request are extracted and passed to another method called as authorize, and this method is triggered from the D object. D is an object of the class DB or database class. This object requests the authorization class object, that is AS, to check whether the user who has requested for this piece of info is an authorized user. So info and UID might be the user's ID who is trying to access this information from the database. If authorized, the patient information will be returned and a form on the user's screen is filled. Otherwise, an error message is returned. So here you can see how the two options or the responses can fall into one of the two categories, alternatives. There are alternatives. If the authorization returns with, okay, this person is an authorized user and he can access this information from the database, that means patient information will be returned from the database to the patient info class and will be displayed as a form. If the person who has requested, say the medical receptionist, is not a valid user or not an authorized user, that means the return value of the authorization will be no access, error, and no patient information will be displayed as a form. Since these are two alternate responses, that is, either this will happen or this will happen. Because of this, they are put together into a box with a tab Alt on it. So let me summarize the sequence diagram for you. The medical receptionist is the one who would want information about a particular patient's history, say consultation, treatment he is undergoing, and other personal information. So the medical receptionist will trigger the view info method, passing the patient's identifier to the patient info class. P is an object of the patient info class, which further triggers another message called as, or a method called as report, having the parameters info, PID, and UID. UID might be the user ID of the medical nurse or the receptionist. PID is what is extracted from the first message, and this message is triggered from P, that is the patient info class object, to D, which is the database object. So once that is done, the database object further calls another class called as authorization to check whether the information and UID provided in this message call or method call are valid. The authorization class and the authorization class object AS will now return back the authorization status. The status can be of two types, either authorization OK or authorization fail. In case the authorization is OK, the DB returns the patient information, which will be displayed as a form for patient info class. Otherwise, an error message is returned. As and when each object ceases, you can see that the rectangular box terminates there. So here you can see authorization object is coming to life at this point and ceases to exist at this point. Similar notation is used for all other objects. The same thing is elaborated on this slide.